Good afternoon again, dear friends, and here we are again along Sutton Place, exploring some of the more pocket parks of New York City, which I mentioned yesterday. There are lovely parks at the ends of the streets in the 50s on the east side. Sutton Place, which extends from 59th Street to 53rd Street, parallel with First Avenue, is a stretch of luxury residential buildings together with the pocket parks on the East River and some very historic homes that were built. In back of me is number 3 Sutton Place, which was the original home built for Anne Morgan, the daughter of J.P. Morgan, in 1921, which later became the official residence of the UN Secretary General up until this date. And I believe from 1972, when Kurt Waldheim was the UN Secretary General, it was donated to the UN for that purpose. The house actually is 14,000 square feet inside and has a full banquet room. And I believe if it ever went on the market, it would be something in the $60 to $75 million range. But it's one of the more important historic homes in this section of Sutton Place, adjacent to one of the pocket parks that we're going to explore right now.
Summer journeys to Niagara and to other places aggravate all our kids.
And here we are, dear friends, at again the pocket park of Sutton Place Park, which is at the very end of East 57th Street. It's the section between Sutton Place and the East River. And this is really a lovely park for children to play, to read, to meet with a friend for a coffee. It has a beautiful, expansive promenade along the East River, which I'm going to show you in just a moment, and a very interesting sculpture of a wild boar that's just behind me there. That is a replica, actually, of the original Pietro Tacca fountain sculpture in Firenze, in Italy. And it was donated to the park in 1972. It's a copy by a neighborhood philanthropist and art lover who decided to decorate the park with this wild boar sculpture. So we're going to take a little walk through the park and along the promenade there of East River, again exploring the many pocket parks of New York City.
We'll have Manhattan, the Bronx and Staten Island too.
So here we are, dear friends, inside the Sutton Place Park, the pocket park at the end of East 57th Street, overlooking the East River, with wonderful spaces to sit, to meditate, to read, to play a game of Scrabble with a friend, to have a coffee. It's a great place to go, great destination this time of the year, and during this moment in time. The pocket parks, I think, are a great safe haven for families with children, for us to go as a destination. And here you have plenty of room to explore the gardens and wonderful promenade all along the East River, all the way down to 55th Street, as well as views of the skyline downtown and the island in the middle of the East River. And then, of course, a beautiful view due east and the 59th Street Bridge as well. Again, we're exploring the pocket parks of New York City on the east side today. Thank you.
It's very fancy on old Delancey Street.
Welcome back, dear friends. And here we are at another pocket park of Sutton Place Parks. And this is at the far end of Sutton Place and 54th Street, between 54th and 53rd, also along the river. It's a lovely park full of flowers and a great view of the East River. And if you can look behind me, you'll see there's an island there in the middle of the East River. And I'm going to show a photo later in the film of the famous Riverside Hospital on the island, which is inaccessible to the public, called North Brother Island. And this hospital, many, many years ago, was a quarantine hospital for infectious diseases. In fact, it was the hospital where one went during the Spanish flu pandemic, during the typhoid fever. The famous Typhoid Mary, who worked in the hospital, died there in 1938. And eventually the hospital became a bird sanctuary and left to the city for rescue training missions of the fire department and the squad. It's still, the original structure is still there, but abandoned. The North Brother Island in the middle of the East River, now, a bird sanctuary. But a very interesting story. And I think that this really represents true New York. The pocket park here with the beautiful nature of the lovely vegetation, design, the flowers, the history of the quarantine hospital in the middle of the East River and the famous buildings that are around me. The industrial aspect of our city with all of the beautiful luxury residential buildings here of Sutton Place. And then we have the commerce of the city, the transportation being right on the FDR Drive, which is an artery in and out of the city, and the two highways, one on the east side, one on the west side, that really lead people in and out of Manhattan. So here we are in another pocket park of New York City, this time at Sutton Place and 54th Street. Thank you so much, dear friends. To be continued another day in another part of the city. Thank you.
Gently gliding by. The great big city's a wondrous toy, just made for a girl